Hey everyone, Rachel here from Curly Quilts. I thought I would do a follow-up video. I did my first YouTube video ever last year, and I've been wanting to keep posting videos. I wanted to express myself more, but basically where I used to live, there wasn't a lot of great lighting. And then when I did finally move into my new place, I have a sewing room now, which you can see here. It's really nicely set up. And for Christmas, I got one of those light stands with the light ring on it, so it holds your cell phone, because I don't have a fancy camera or a tripod or anything like that. So I thought I would do a new video, because now I have like a professional setup and everything like that. Basically, I just wanted to make this video to kind of talk about sewing projects, things I finished up this year, because I did finish up a lot of things. I got through a lot of UFOs, and I didn't start as many projects as I usually do, which was good. So that's why I had a lot of time to catch up on things from before. I finished a lot of projects that were like 2 years old and more, things like that. Quite a few of them. I don't have a lot of them here with me because a lot of them were actually gifts for other people. The first one was a blue and orange quilt that I made for my two friends. I will try to insert a picture right here. I've never done that before, so we'll see how it goes. I made it for my two friends who they got both engaged and married this year. They've been dating for 7 years, I want to say, which is a long time. That's how long my fiance and I have been dating, and we're just now getting married too. So they had asked me a long while ago to start a quilt for them, and they wanted it king size, so it was really big. It ended up being 108 inches by 110 inches. And when I started it, I only had like a little tiny $100 sewing machine. I didn't have this machine that I have now, which is a Janome Skyline S9. And so I'm actually gonna turn this off, I just realized. So I don't know if that makes a lot of sense to you, but if you're working on a really tiny machine, and even just piecing the top on a tiny machine is very time consuming. Plus it was in an expensive machine, therefore the thread would break a lot. I had a lot of issues with it, and it was quite a few years old at that point, and they're not really designed to last much longer than that, especially since I did a lot of actual free motion quilting on it. And it can do it, you know, it can kind of do it, but it's not built to do it, you know what I mean? It's like taking I don't know, a pickup truck on the Autobahn or something. It just, they don't go together. So I finished that up way back in March, and I ended up gifting that to them for their wedding, as their wedding present. What else did I finish up? I also finished up a Christmas tree skirt, which I have a lot of photos of on my Instagram. I'll link that down below in the description box if you want to go and see those pictures of that. That one came out really nice, and that was one of those projects I actually started this year. I had bought the pattern through a class on Craftsy maybe about 3 years ago. I think I have it right here. Cover picture of it, but I have like a line drawing of it. Something like that. Don't want you guys to see any of the measurements or anything. I forget who it's by. I'll put the link in the description box below because I can't remember. But anyway, I started that this year and I finished it this year, so it ended up working up really nicely. I had it in time for Christmas, which is nice because we, you know, only had a little 4-foot tree. We didn't want to buy a whole Christmas tree or anything like that. So we had our little, you know, fake 4-foot Christmas tree, and I had the Christmas tree that I made, or Christmas tree skirt that I made for it on there, which was really nice. I really like it. It's really pretty and it's really cute. I also did sort of, this is another project that I had started this year. This is the backing fabric, but this is basically the fabric that kind of inspired me to make this quilt, because it says like, coffee is my, oh, I just lost it. Morning Joe, good, enjoy pumpkin spice season, love you a latte, that kind of stuff. So I wanted to make an autumn quilt because I like to have, I'm from the South, and so having decorations out for every single holiday or every single season is very popular, and I really want to continue that tradition. So I took this pattern out of like an older quilt book, and I did all hand quilting on it, and so it's not quite finished yet, mostly because I wasn't satisfied with how much quilting was on there. I think if you're going to do hand quilting, you have to make it really stand out. You have to go really bold, and especially for me, I had started the design with these cute little pumpkins and things like that, and so I really wanted those to be more present and more bold and just make it a little bit more whimsical, because my hand quilting is not the best. I'll show you guys. So you can see my stitches are pretty uneven, but I kind of like that look. Here's the most, so these are the ones I added at the last second. And the thread for this little pumpkin here, let's see, can you guys see that? It's a variegated rayon thread from Wonderfill. And so it's a little bit more difficult to work with because it is a rayon. It's very slick and smooth, and so I don't recommend hand quilting an entire quilt with decorative threads like that. Little decorative touches in the center is fine, but all the main stitching coming out really bright orange. I have a brown block, hold on. So that's all sulky. It's 100% cotton sulky. It's a 12-weight hand quilting thread, and it's also variegated because I love variegated threads. I love playing with threads a lot. I think threads are an underutilized tool in your quilting arsenal. I think with, hand sewing, you see it more, hand quilting, hand embroidery, and things like that. But I also want to start combining, free motion quilting and hand quilting as well. But yeah, the thread that you pick can make all the difference in the world, and I think the thread should paint almost a different picture on the quilt than the quilt itself, and so it becomes like this really interesting balancing act of where the fabric is and how the thread affects the shape and the color of the fabric. So I don't know, maybe I'm getting a little too artsy, but I am an art history major, so you always have to give reasoning for why you want to do something. When you study art, what's really cool is that you learn why did they choose that technique of impression. Well, never mind, no tangents. I am definitely a tangent kind of person. So I also thought I would talk about some maybe like resolutions that I want to accomplish this year, some projects that I've had in the back of my mind, projects that I've printed and I have the patterns for in a binder. I have this binder that I keep with all the free patterns I have in it. One of my goals or resolutions this year is to not download any more new patterns. Don't start any sew-alongs because I know that I can't finish in a timely manner. That's just who I am as a person, always have been, always will be, and putting myself on a timeline for something that I love doing, it just makes me more stressed than I need to be. I'm always trying to put myself on a timeline for my sewing and my quilting, and instead I should just be focusing on having fun and, just being more productive overall. Not necessarily, if I start this project today, it has to be finished in 2 weeks. And some projects, yeah, sure. Like that Christmas tree skirt, once I actually got going on it, it really didn't take that much time. But for me, I have to work on things in a little bit, put it down, walk away from it, and come back to it. And sometimes I don't come back to things until years later, literally years later. Like my friend's wedding quilt, also some chair cushions that my stepdad wanted me to make him. I just finished those today, actually, and I started them 2 years ago. And the funny part is, when he asked me to make them, it was because I asked him to get me a tablet for Christmas that year, and so I felt a lot of guilt in the last 2 years because it took me this long to make them for him. So, but he doesn't care. He's not like, I think he was serious, but at the same time, I was like, you know, I'm not that kind of sewer. I mostly do quilts, but you know, dads are dads. But anyway, for the new year, 2020, I went to a local quilt guild meeting, maybe 3 months ago, possibly 4, I think it was 3 months ago. And I saw a really great guy, Kevin Cosbab. This is his book. It's called The Quilters Applique Workshop. And he was talking about applique work and how to use applique to kind of elevate your quilts. Sort of the design possibilities that are open to you when you explore new techniques. Which is actually something I'd been interested in doing for a while, and I didn't know he was speaking at this quilt guild meeting. He just happened to be sort of like their guest speaker for the week, and he was really inspiring. I ended up buying his book. When we spoke to him after the lecture, he did say that the book was no longer going to be published, so you may not be able to find this anymore. So that's why I'm keeping it a guarded secret. But he had some really cool, funky stuff, and I think one of the coolest things he talked about was his way of collecting fabric. I need to just show you an example really quick. He has one with the kitchen stuff. Is it in the book? Let me just show you this. I want to show you the picture. So that's all done through Applique. So that's pretty cool, you know. He's very modern, very contemporary style. I can't find the picture that I'm wanting to find for you. But one of the other things that he talked about, not just applique, but was how he sort of collects fabric. Basically, he was talking about taking like different fabrics when you see them, you know, ooh, I'm really inspired by this, or ooh, there's this theme to this fabric, not necessarily a color or a type of motif. Doesn't even care about designer, manufacturer, things like that. Just like this fabric, it speaks to me, or it has an element that I'm looking for. And for whatever reason, that was really inspiring to me, because that's kind of how I was already collecting fabric, and I thought that was the wrong way to do it. You know, when you watch all these quilters on YouTube, when you watch these professional people, when you watch all these professional people do their videos or make their quilts, you see their fabric, and they use a lot of the collections that you get from designer fabric. And so everything is designed to go coherently together. And while it looks beautiful, and I'm not dissing designer fabric in any way, but at the same time, it can really limit your creativity. And I love to collect things, I love to gather, and I love to sort of save. And what this year, 2019, was really good for me was because I finished up all these old UFOs. It was mostly because these elements that I was missing from the projects finally came into my life. It was like, for that tree skirt, you know, I've had that pattern for 3 years, but I didn't ever have the right fabric I wanted. I'm not going to make a pattern if I don't have the right fabric. I'm not that kind of quilter. And so this year at my job, where I happen to sell fabric, this beautiful, I think it's Riley Blake Winterberry, or I actually have, oh, the camera's not doing it justice. It's like a really dark burgundy vintage Santa Claus. It's really cute. Hold on, let me look at the Riley Blake. Yeah. Winterberry. Yay, I was right. It's always satisfactory when you're right. Yeah, so that fabric came in, and I saw the red and the white Santas, and my like Christmas theme, I don't know if you're one of those people, when you do your Christmas decorations, if you collect by a theme. A lot of people like to do snowmen, some people do elves, some people do nutcrackers. Like their thing to collect for Christmas decoration is nutcrackers, because as all those Christmas crazy people know, there's so many different themes to Christmas that, you know, if you want to kind of have a good collection going, you pick your favorite. Mine's Santa Claus, of course, because he's the big guy on the big night. And so every year I try to buy one new Santa Claus thing, or try to make something Santa Claus themed, because I do like to sew all my Christmas decorations, too, as many as I can. And so when I saw this, it was so cute. And I love vintage, so again, I'll try to have that picture up here. I should just go grab it off the Christmas tree. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pause it. Okay, so I went and grabbed it. And it makes like a star in the center for your tree. And it's completely self-contained, so it's not bound or anything like that. And then there's some sparkly, wonderful thread. And I did straight line quilting on my sewing machine. So that was it, right? I just wanted to show you an example of that. And so I was talking about the applique guy. Okay, so applique. So for applique, he was talking about sort of having his fabrics make friends. So he finds all this fabric from these different designers, different themes and things like that. And so he says they make friends. And so hopefully that's not like a registered trademark or something like that. But I was like, cool, I do that too. And so I have this fabric that I bought in a quilt shop maybe, I don't think it's been 2 years. Ooh, but maybe it has. I think it's been 2 years since I bought this fabric. And then they're just fat quarters, and this was back when I used to buy fat quarters. I know a lot of people are hardcore fat quarter bundle fans and things like that, but I just find a fat quarter useless. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't projects to be made with it, but I don't know, I just feel, I open it up and I'm like, oh yeah, it's like not even a half a yard, it's only 18 by 22. So I only do half yards minimums, but like if I buy a fabric off the bolt, obviously, I mean, I've only bought one half yard bundle. They're really expensive. So anyway, I got this fabric. I bought this fabric in a quilt shop 2 years ago, apparently, and it's a fat quarter. It's got a good all over, and you know, I like to travel. I've traveled. I've been to Rome and Madrid, London, that kind of, you know, Paris. So I just like, oh, this is cute, I'll get it. And then I also got this with it. It's another fat quarter, and I liked the idea of location fabric. I don't know. I'm not really into that now, but at the time I was like, this would be cute. Or, you know, maybe an American quilt or something like that. Look how cute they are. Look at this little cowboy butt. I don't know, I just thought it was really cute. So, you know, that's a Western thing. I don't know if I would put that one with the other one now that I'm looking at it again. I don't actually remember that second fat quarter at all. I didn't remember it looking like that. So anyway, I got this. This is a panel. It's a map of the city of Paris. I believe it was either 2/3 or a whole yard panel, so it's probably, I think it's a yard, it looks like a yard. 36 inches by about, you know, 44 inches. And I thought that was really cool because it's a black and white map of the city of Paris. And when I saw it, I was like, oh cool, that would go with that first fat quarter, right? So that idea of taking fabric from all over because, you know, of a central theme or something like that, I was like, cool, I'm operating like this guy. So then I also have this London fabric that I actually got in London, which was really cool. In March, I got to go to London with my now fiance, and he actually proposed to me. That's Buckingham Palace. It's not on here. He actually proposed to me in front of Westminster Abbey, so it's really cute. Anyway. So I got that in London in March, and I got that Paris panel maybe last month, and I've had that fat quarter since 2 years ago. I just think it's really cool how I don't know, sometimes it's good to wait on fabric. Sometimes it's good not to cut it up. You know, you hoard it a little bit, and you know, you don't go crazy with it. I know there's some people out there that have entire garages. Sorry, all of the fabric, the fibers and stuff. I think I'm actually allergic to fabric. I sneeze a lot around it. Anyway, actually it was on the shelf for a while, so it's probably dusty. Anyway, oh, I was saying it's good to hoard fabric a little bit in moderation. There's some people who have like entire garages or sheds in their backyards devoted to fabric, and it's like, that's a little too much for me. You know, it's a little wasteful. It's like, are you ever going to get through that? But I'm also not retired, and I'm not upper middle class by any means, so I guess if you have the money and the space, go for it, girl. I guess I would have that much fabric if I could afford it. But also, anyway, another fabric family I have started that I maybe want to get into this year. This might be a more long-term project, and I just love long-term projects, apparently. It's like a fairy with butterflies. It's like the kind of art you see on tarot cards and things like that, and so it was really unique. I saw it at a quilt show that I went to, and I'd never seen like quilt fabric like that before. So I was also really inspired by the applique idea of sort of combining different texture materials, like, you know, taking knits and jerseys and sewing them on top of a cotton top or something like that. I don't know. You know, fabric paint, like thread painting, but with sort of strips of fabric and things like that, which I guess is also kind of like crazy quilting. I feel like crazy quilting, though, is a little bit more random. It's way more sort of abstract. Doesn't really have a design element to it, and so I want to kind of elevate it a little bit differently. I definitely, as you can tell, I think about things in an artistic manner, I guess from more of a painter's perspective, because I did do painting. I wasn't very good, and that's actually why I got into sewing, and that's why I got into quilting. But I think it really helps me create the kinds of things I want to make. I'm just trying to get my sewing skills to the level where I can actually accomplish all of my crazy ideas. Another fabric to go with the fairies I thought would be kind of cool. This is really delicious. This is like so, it's like painterly. It looks like, it almost looks like oils, or like, you know, painters, like the white painter pan that you use. I know I was a painter, but I don't know what it's called. So that was really pretty, and I just thought that looked really luxurious. I thought it'd be a really cool way to add texture to a quilt with just plain cotton fabric. Okay. Some other projects that I kind of want to work on. This pattern here, Merrily by Jessie Maloney for Gingerbread. And so I got the panel at a quilt shop, and they happened to have, and they had the pattern to go along with it, which I thought was really cool. And I had never worked with a panel at that time. And technically I still haven't made a panel quit. I have a couple panels in my possession, but I actually haven't stitched them out or anything like that. And so this was actually the first panel I ever bought. So I thought it was cool that they had the pattern with it. I did not realize that it required some foundation paper piecing. And so I have to make copies of this page, and then I gotta cut out the paper, and it's just like, ugh, why doesn't the pattern include that? If there's like gonna be an extra step, it needs to say it on the front. It does not say it on the front. It kind of says it on the back, which we all know that we're only reading the fabric requirements, right? I mean, that's the only thing I'm looking at is the fabric requirements. So, I mean, definitely my fault because I didn't read the back thoroughly, but also I wish that the pattern cost like an extra $2 and that there was just like paper patterns already printed out, or at least put on a separate page. Like both of them are the same page. Like, couldn't you have given me like an 8x11 with 4 of these on it, and then just let me make the copies? I think that would have been a good idea. And maybe I'm getting a little bit stickler, but quilting is already tedious enough. Like, why do we have to make it more tedious on everybody? Just make it easy. Throw in the stupid piece of paper. Anyway, so that's where I am. I cut out all the fabric for it. I cut out the panel pieces. I have not made copies of the foundation paper templates yet, so it's been 2 years. I bought that. Last year, I cut out all the fabric. This year, I was like, okay, then I have to work on it more, right? Because I did something last year. No, didn't happen. Did not happen in December. Will probably happen in January. So, I don't really want to share that. But anyway, that's kind of everything that I'm updated for, all the stuff I do have. Going into the new year, I really want to kind of stick to a sewing schedule, and so every morning when I wake up, I try to, I don't have to go to work until a little bit later on in the morning, and so, if I wake up by a certain time, that gives me about an hour to an hour and a half to like actually sew if I want to. If I really kind of get my day started right, if I actually wake up early enough, and if I am prepared, which, you have to set yourself up for success. And so for me, having a schedule will help me set myself up for success. Mondays, I'm going to work on any quilting that I have to do, free motion quilting, things like that. And if, on that day, I don't have any of the assigned tasks to do, I can just work on whatever I want to work on. So it allows me to have sort of a designated schedule, maybe basically like a quilting or sewing to-do list. But if I veer off from that, it's not a bad thing, because then I'm still technically working on something. So I just want to get better at using my time more effectively. I have a lot of time in my day where I can sit and sew, and so I want to use it. That's where I want to be for the new year. I have a couple of quilts that are sort of just in the planning stage, and they're going to be for other people. One of them is definitely a secret, so I don't want to even say who it's for, because they will probably watch this video. I don't know. Anyway, so that's a secret one, and then I have other friends who kind of want to commission me to make them a quilt, but we're all working adults. They happen to have kids. I don't have any kids, and so their schedule is a lot tighter than mine. And honestly, we live we live kind of far away. Not super far away, but far away enough that you're like, can't drive that far just to talk to you about quilt planning. But at the same time, I would be down to drive a far ways to talk about quilt planning because I love it. Anyway, so there's 2 quilts for 2 people. And then of course, you know, I want to make a quilt for everyone I've ever met. I met you today, I need to make you quilts. You need a quilt. And the problem is, I'm really slow at it. It takes me a very long time to do things. I'm a slow sewer, slow stitcher, which is okay. It's not a race. It's my hobby. I'm still young. I just got into this 5 years ago, and so I'm trying to outrun myself. I'm trying to be at a level of some of these, you know, women who are in their 50s and 60s and have been quilting literally their whole entire lives since they were like 8 years old. But I think staying motivated will keep me in this hobby. I tend to be one of those people that kind of deviates from things, and so this is something I've been doing for 5 years, which doesn't seem like a long time for some people, but for me it's actually quite an accomplishment to have stuck with something that I like to do as a creative thing. I didn't give up on it. I haven't moved on really into anything else. However, I did get some crochet stuff. I used to crochet when I was first learning how to sew. I was also learning how to do crochet and knitting. Knitting I didn't like. I don't know. This action, it's too much like chopsticks to me, and it doesn't make sense in my head. Crochet I really like to do, and I actually made quite a few little like amigurumi figurines. I made a whole like big old Totoro for my friend. I made little bunnies that were really cute, and then I made a couple of mice for my cat. So they're like little crocheted yarn mice, and they're really cute. I only have one left right now, and so I really wanted to make more for my cat because he likes to play with them. I also wanted to experiment with maybe doing ones with catnip in them, because he used to not like catnip, but he also had some like weird behavior issues from the apartment we used to live in, and now that he's a little bit more, you know, kind of normal, I wanted to see if he likes catnip. But anyway, I got a ball of yarn and a crochet needle, and a little project. I just got a ball of variegated yarn that was on sale at Joann's because I had a gift card for Christmas. Then I got an ergonomic clover crochet hook. How do people do this? Okay, it's a phone camera, so you know. It's a size 7 or 4.5 millimeters, which, as I recall, there's different sized crochet hooks depending on how like chunky your yarn is / how tightly you want it knitted together. Like I think if you have a bigger hook, then the looser the stitches are. So I think I got an average sized one. The yarn I got does ask for a 4 millimeter hook, and so I'm hoping that if it's just a 0.5 millimeter bigger, it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. I just I barely stitched a little line the other day. I'm gonna go turn off the heater. It's really hot in here. Okay, I'm back. I am filming this at night because that's when I have the most energy. That's when I can't sleep, so I thought doing videos at night may help with that. Anyway, back to crochet. I got this magazine because it came with a project bag. So it has actually a crochet hook, some yarn, different colored yarns to make some little Christmas gnome or little Santa or elves, I think they are. So you know, it was a cool little package deal. The magazines were on sale because I went the day after Christmas. Plus I had gift cards, so I was like, yeah, I like getting magazines, but I never do get them because they're like always $14.99, $12.99. They just seem really expensive, and it's just like, I just really want to look for that inspiration. Sometimes I do projects out of magazines. I've done actually quite a few projects out of magazines. But still, I feel like $15 is a lot for a magazine. But that's also because I'm spoiled with the internet. But anyway, so y'all, yeah, this year I also want to get into crochet again. Just making cute little fun figurines and things like that. And so I think with that, I will end the video. Sorry if this was a bit rambly. This was my first one. I'm gonna try not to actually, you know, I'm gonna edit out the long pauses and things like that. But, you know, some of my favorite YouTube people are really casual. They just keep it an honest conversation, and so that's what I wanted to do with this video. I hope you guys liked it. If you want, I will try to have all the information in the description box below, and if you want to follow me, all my links will be down there too. Bye.